Well, with a new patch of Final Fantasy XIV, that means new music, and in this case, the second portion of the MILFs. And in this case, the second portion of the myths. Well, with a new patch of Final Fantasy XIV, that means new awesome music, and in this case, the second portion of the Myths of the Realm raid, Euphrosyne. Spoilers, of course, if you haven't played through this raid, because, well, spoilers abound. First off, we have to look at the name of this raid. Euphrosyne, one of the three charities, along with Aglaia and Talia. Euphrosyne being the charity known for good cheer, joy, and mirth. We definitely hear good cheer all over this raid when we consider the Celtic feeling of the fiddle in both the boss themes and Menfina's theme, not to mention this playful, loving feeling that we hear throughout this raid of a bounding feeling of joy and the celebratory feeling that we felt during Aglaia. I think one of the most striking things about this raid for me is that the moment we arrive at the Heaven of Earth, we are greeted by Nofika and the sapling matured by Althic, a land of farmers and naturalists. We hear this simple harp introduction with sopranos in the distance. There's almost this hummed quality as if we're sharing in a joyful secret. Yada-da, bo-da-da, bo-da-da, bo-da-da. Short long, short long, short long, short long. It's delicate and playful and has an air of majesty to it, certainly. And I do think that it does represent Nofika in a way. Of course, we see and hear other gods throughout this, but to me, this is the closest we get to a true theme for the matron deity of Gridania. Of course, here we hear this amazing melody, right? This is that invitation to dance. This is like, come to the Celtic hoedown. It's not a hoedown, but there's an invitation to come to the bar and to the pub and enjoy this feast of music. In a way, this whole raid gives us a feeling of bounding warmth and joviality, almost like a warm embrace. There's also a bit of tenderness too, which is sort of interesting because it's not violent in its sound quality. There's almost there's a funny bit of mystery in this music because it is very warm. It's very inviting. It's very friendly. You know, as we kick into this fight with Nofika, we are overtaken by the sound of the fiddle and these sharp percussive beats. So the fiddle, or well, the violin, often is in reference to a violin used in Irish, Scottish, and French traditional music. The fiddle is a violin, but there's a style of playing that is specific to fiddling. Fiddling calls for great skill in producing the rhythmic and melodic lift originally intended to get people dancing and then keep them that way. And honestly, that's no different in this boss battle theme. I mean, the best part of this boss theme to me is the use of this accordion. Because how often do you hear an accordion in any music, really? But especially in a boss theme, it's also, this melody is something that I know, but for whatever reason I can't put my finger on. And in true Final Fantasy XIV fashion, there are motives everywhere. Songs interweaving other songs, creating new songs. It's difficult to pull off successfully, yet somehow they're always able to create these masterpieces of songs that we've already heard before, mixed in with their own different renditions of the same song. It's fascinating. I've been thinking about this since playing this. We have the Dawn of a New Era leitmotif, which I consider to be a big theme of these raids in particular. We are spending time with the gods. We are talking to the gods. This is the theme for the end of Endwalker in many ways as we approach 7.0 and what's next for Final Fantasy XIV. And maybe I'm reading too much into it, but it does appear quite a bit both in this raid and in Aglaya, if I'm pretty sure. The thing is, this is a tune. Bum ba-dum, bum ba-dum, bum ba-dum, bum bum. We've heard this tune in A Realm Reborn. And in a way, it feels like we're bookending the Final Fantasy XIV story as we know it through these raids. Of course, this is insanely sneaky because this is the Final Fantasy motive, and I'm thinking about this too, this heroic version. What does this mean? I think in some ways it's kind of breaking the fourth wall, some sort of calling out to us as players and fans, of Final Fantasy being like, hey, we see you. If I remember correctly too, don't we often hear the Final Fantasy motive at the end of mainline Final Fantasy games? I'm pretty sure that's where I've heard it, but my point is that it almost feels like it's like a calling out to us as fans and players to be like, hey, I see you, we're finishing this story up and starting a new one. There's again that sort of thought process to me. I don't know. I'm thinking a lot about the oscillating between determined focus and rhythm and movement. These sharp rhythms here and quick bowings to me give me the impression of we cannot not win against the gods, but also they're having a good time with us. So for us, it's this is a thing we have to accomplish. We have a job to do. We need to defeat the gods, but the gods understand that this isn't a serious thing. The gods know that they could destroy us. There's a playful nature to them, and we hear that in the music with these sharp rhythms and this playfulness in the string. To us, the sharp rhythms indicate that the situation is fairly serious to us while still being full of joy, and there's a duality there between the characters. I gotta say, I was surprised to see Althik here. Actually, hold on, let me bust out my Encyclopedia Eorzea. My man Althik literally made the earth, and Naimea commands the element of water. In the beginning, there was neither light nor darkness, only the whirl, and it was not until Althik emerged thence in his nakedness did time take its first step forward. With him, the keeper also carried weight, and with weight were the realms of land and firmament defined. Yet Althik would not be alone over long, for soon from the world did another step forth. Her name was Naimea, and she was but a mewling babe who could not but weep, and soon her tears had created a vast lake. Althik, seeking companionship in the empty realm of his creation, took the young goddess under his wing and cared for her as one would a daughter. As Naimea grew, however, so too did their love for one another, and it could no longer be contained, culminating in a divine coupling which resulted in the birth of two holy daughters. So that's a little complicated. We have a little bit of Wagnerian complex relationships in Final Fantasy XIV, huh? Cool. I have to say, it's pretty cool to see the twin moons in the back, Dalamud and Menfina, but then on top of that, the lore of the gods that we've learned is exactly how they're depicted in this raid. In fact, the encyclopedia says that in the center of this heaven rises a lofty palace of ice made of frozen moonbeams and carved with the Fury's own spear. Here reside epic heroes and gallant knights, the benevolent and the faithful. This fight is actually terrifying. I was deathly afraid of this fight, and I died many, many times. The goddess of war and the guardian deity of Ishgard alone really holds nothing back, and it's actually an incredible fight, and it really feels like a true boss battle. She was absolutely relentless. really hear Menfina's character in this music. There's a playful boundfulness in this music. There's a reflection on her as a character of curiosity, of playfulness, of youth. It's giving me like 90s, I don't want to say Spice Girl energy, but in a way there's a little bit of that. There's a bit of like 90s Saturday morning cartoon energy to this, which is absolutely a compliment. There's a pleasantness in this. There's a dance feeling in this, and you can't help but feel exuberant and dance a little bit with this fiddle, because it really hits and it really does what the fiddle's intended purpose is, to dance, to evoke a feeling of mirth and joy, which is, after all, what Euphrosyne's all about. I gotta say, it's not a bad tune for the goddess of love and the keeper of the moon. Yeah, I just think that this music is really, again, it's a celebration of the gods. There's a real feeling of embracing. There's a feeling of like a big warm hug, and it's less about proving oneself and more about being who somebody is. And I think it's the gods accepting us as, as what we are, as we come, as we arrive. There's a real feeling of Menfina's just having a great time. And that music really comes across, especially and smartly in that fiddle, which is really the standout for me of this whole raid. If you like this sort of stuff, there's a ton of Final Fantasy content on this channel. Feel free to like, subscribe. There's links in the About section if you want to support the channel. And as always, thanks a ton, and I'll see you on the next video. Bye.